Well, hello everyone. I'm in Millau, this beautiful ancient town known for, famous for its spectacular bridge, the Viaduct de Millau, and also a big mountain which is actually literally behind me, but the tree is blocking the view, called Poncho. And I'll be making my way up that mountain to some degree, not right to the top, but a good deal up that side of that mountain tomorrow, which I'm not looking forward to that bit, to be honest. I've been enjoying just relaxing and just being. And the reason I'm recording this video is because I'm about halfway. So this is my halfway video. I've been on the road since July the 27th, and it's now the 9th of September. So Tuesday the 9th of September. So that's how far I've gone in the last. So I think it's about 1,200 kilometers or so, and I've got another sort of 1,200 or so to go. And but I thought I'd record this video and just reflect on the first half of the journey a bit. And it's been a mixture of all sorts of things. As many of you know, in the early stages, I was struggling physically with my left leg, what appeared to be potentially a stress fracture. I never actually got it checked out, but after a week of recuperation with Chris, I haven't had any problems with my leg since, which is a fantastic thing. So one of the lessons I've learned is that our bodies are immensely adaptable, and that it is surprising how eventually our bodies adapt to what we put it through. So I've found since Bonnevo Abbey, the walking's been quite good. There's only been a few days where I've done very long days where the walking has been very difficult, but physically my body has adapted well, and hopefully it continues to do so. Still, touch wood, no blisters, thanks to the socks that I wear. I think that's the main thing. And but it's been a wonderful journey, and all the way down I'm still amazed at the generosity and the trust that people put in me by taking me in, a complete stranger. Obviously, I have stayed with wonderful people for whom I have met or have been introduced to in other aspects of life, but for the most part, the people who've put me up have been people who haven't known me from Adam previously, and it just continues to amaze me. And the generosity of people, the number of people that have slipped me some money and to get some food or any of those sorts of things has been absolutely amazing. And as I've progressed south and now head east towards Italy, the terrain has gotten tougher, which is good that my body is holding out, because the terrain is definitely tougher, lot more hilly, a lot more up and down, and some of the terrain, particularly that stretch between Decazeville and Conques, was extremely difficult and challenging, particularly coming down into Conques. And I'm glad I won't have to walk that one again, even though it was some of the most spectacular countryside around. It seems to go that another thing I've learnt is that the more beautiful a place is, often the more difficult the terrain. So sometimes you have to have this compromise between beauty and difficulty. Maybe that's the lesson, is that the things that are really worth it require a lot more effort. And maybe that's true in life as a general rule, that the things that are truly worth anything require some form of sacrifice in order to obtain them. The things that come easy are not always the things that we need. There we go, there's some wisdom for you. But along the way, I've valued some of the conversations I've had. I've had some amazing conversations with all sorts of people, and really in-depth conversations about faith. People are really seeking out there. You know, they're not always seeking after what I have within the Christian faith, centered around the person of Jesus, who's my inspiration in life, and is the person who I wish to model my life on, the life of love, peace and justice, and an uplifting of all people, particularly those at the margins. But there is a deep spiritual seeking, a real sense and a search for deep meaning in this life. I think we've started to see this as young Gen Zs have started coming back to church, as we see in the West, that people are realizing the vacuousness of possessions and the world. You know, since over the last 50 or so years, we've been promised all these creature comforts, these things that will make our lives easier, and that our meaning is found in things, and sometimes even found in experiences. And what a lot of people I've encountered on my journey have found is that these things don't really mean much at all, and they don't give us deep meaning in life. So I've encountered so many people who, perhaps one of the reasons they were attracted to talking to me, this odd guy dressed in a tunic, wandering through in his sandals and socks, is that they wanted someone to discuss the possibility that there is something more meaningful out there in life. Hopefully, during our conversations, both they and I have drawn closer to that deep meaning that we all seek. One of the other things I've realized is that we really don't need a lot. You know, there have been moments in my life where I've sought after, I suppose, what you would call exotic experiences and such, especially in my early and mid-20s, or late 20s as well. You know, particularly things like the most interesting food combinations and things like that. And this walk has made me realize how much I value the most simple of things, and actually going back to just a wonderfully baked baguette with some sliced tomato is just as satisfying, and if not more satisfying, than perhaps the richest and exotic haute cuisine. Something as simple as that, especially if shared with great company. I think that's the other thing, is that what I realize is, you know, I set out on this journey with a sense of wanting to develop deeper connections with people particularly for whom I have no natural things in common, even language. And that's proved to be a really worthwhile pursuit. The connections that I've been able to make, I think, are going to be lifelong and lasting. And maybe for me, I think will extend into into beyond this earthly life. I've often said in recent years that I think that when Jesus says, store up your treasures in heaven, not on earth, he's talking about the relationships we build up on earth. They're the things that we'll take with us. The love that we share with one another is going to survive earthly death. That's what we take. That's our treasure that we store up in heaven. And hopefully this pilgrimage, this journey, has enabled me to store up some more treasures in heaven. Those relationships that I will continue in the once I'm done with this mortal vessel, and are taken into whatever happens after we die. I think that's some of the really important things that I've learned. It also has re-emphasized to me the fact that I've accumulated too much. I need to start looking at what things genuinely do I need and will provide meaning and are actually valuable for the work that I have been called to do. In the little book that I've been reading along the way about the wisdom of St. Francis, St. Francis has this conversation with St. Clare. St. Clare was St. Francis's deepest confidant, the person who knew and understood Francis the best and loved him at the deepest of levels. And he was talking to her about this conflict that he had within him, that really what he wanted to do was to hide, not to hide away, but to live a very hermit-like life, a contemplative life. But obviously he kept being, people kept coming and being drawn to him. And Clare, in her wisdom, says to Francis, well, suck it up, son. Your gift, your ministry, your life is meant not just for yourself, but for the blessing and the encouragement of others. So even though you may want to just live that contemplative life, the reason people are drawn to you is because God has drawn them to you, because your gift, your mission is to very much be a light to those people. And I think any of us who are in ministry have wrestled with that tension of the demands that ministry puts upon us, and the fact that it's a very people-focused vocation, and that sometimes doesn't always sit to where we'd like to be, where we would like to go off into our silence and to just be a bit more often, but to realize actually the call that we all we all have is to build relationships and to encourage one another. So I very much understood what Francis was trying to get to, and also heard the wisdom of St. Clare in telling him, well, get over it. But it also means that it helps me to reevaluate what aspects, what things I have accumulated around me that actually aid my functioning and my ministry and my vocation, and what things actually hamper it. So be warned, Greg, there might be a bit of a clearing out when I get home of the things that have attached themselves to me, which are unhelpful and actually distract from what I truly feel I'm called to do and to be in the world. But having said that, there are genuinely things that are required in order to fully fulfill a vocation. and so therefore it's the discernment process. So as I do the next half, maybe I'll discover that I need to shed more things. But they're the main things I've taken away along my journey, along my route. The conversations have been the most valuable things of all. Those moments, those unexpected moments of conversation. When I was in Rodez, I had a wonderful conversation with this young woman who was of an Armenian background. She was an absolute delight, but she couldn't quite get to where I understood that the most at the most deepest level of the human being is that we are created in the divine image, and therefore our original form, our original essence is an essence of goodness, and so we are in original goodness, not in original sin. And that for the most part, the vast majority of people want to live good and kind and serving lives, give people the opportunity to show kindness, and most often they will. But she was quite cynical about that, and she thought that most people weren't that kind. Yet I sort of highlighted the slight contradiction, the fact that she was buying me a coffee and we were having this conversation suggests that she herself was genuinely kind at the core. It's genuinely good, and she couldn't quite reconcile that. She said, well, she's obviously different. And I'd say, well, no, you're not different. You're actually as it was, as it's always been. That the majority of people in this world want to show kindness. I know that this has been a fairly long video. Some of you might not get through to the whole lot of it, but it's a bit of a celebration to be halfway through my journey, and I'm looking forward to the second half. I've definitely got a couple of extra people that I'm going to meet along the way. I've got at least two destinations, two people who have promised me a place to stay. So I'm looking forward very much to that. That's Christine and David and Jacqueline in Italy. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting with them, as I've been here with Perrin and the family, sister of Alice. It's been an absolute joy to be here in Mio and to share this time with the family here. So God bless, and I will keep you updated with much shorter videos than this.